This Bible question is an excerpt from our television program, What Do the Scriptures Say? We hope that it will enrich your spiritual life, and we hope that you'll come back to www.scripturesay.com to find answers to your Bible questions. Thank you.
Welcome back. Our next question. Why does Exodus chapter 2 and verse 16 through 21 tell us that Moses' wife was a Midianite woman, and Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1 tells us that she was a Cushite, which means that she was an Ethiopian? Is this a contradiction? Whew, sharp people.
Violet Strahl asked me this question, as well as people coming by email.
Finding needles in haystacks.
Well,
Awesome.
Violet is really sharp, and she's 80-something. And this is what I would term a classic alleged discrepancy. This is one that people have been trying to unravel for a long time, and there's some really interesting reasons why. For example, if Moses married an Ethiopian, that means that there was an interracial marriage. That means that Moses, whose skin tone would be somewhat darker than mine, perhaps, or now that I'm tan a little bit, maybe about.
He'd still be darker than you might.
He'd certainly be darker than Danny,
Definitely
wouldn't he?
darker than Danny.
But that his wife Zipporah, an Ethiopian, what color would her skin be?
She's very dark.
She's
an Ethiopian.
We would term her black, would we not?
We would.
In our modern vernacular. So we have a white man, Moses, married to a black woman, Zipporah, which I believe is another one of the providential reasons that the text is there. It's God's view on intermarriage. And I know I'm going to get questions now. God doesn't have any problem with the color of your skin. People do. And God doesn't have any problems with a white man marrying a black woman, or a black woman marrying a white man, or a black man marrying a white woman. That's not a problem with God. It is with man. But this question, and I believe that explanation tells you why this continues to be a question, because I think there's an easy biblical answer to this, but it's hard for some people to accept. It's very difficult in certain cultures for this to be acceptable. But Exodus chapter 2 and verse 16 says this: Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Moses was willing to dwell with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses. Now, here's what Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1 says. Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman who he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. You see, this prejudice against interracial marriages existed as far back as Moses' day. Even Miriam and Aaron were upset about this marriage. Now, they didn't tell Moses that that's what made them upset, and they got the people all riled up, and it was a racial prejudice that existed. But what really made them upset was that he married this Cushite woman. Now, what does that mean? Is there a difference between a Cushite and a Midianite? Well, the Bible answers that in Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 7. Look at this verse. I saw the tents of Cushan under distress. The tent curtains of the land of Midian were trembling. Let me remind you of something that we talked about, now it's probably years ago, when we talked about the book of Psalms and Hebrew parallelism. It's a common way of expressing things and talking about things in the Hebrew language. Something is said in one way, and then the exact duplicate, a parallel statement is made using different words. When you say, I saw the tents of Cushan under distress, that's one statement. Here is the Here is a parallel statement meaning exactly the same thing. That's what Hebrew parallelism is. The tent cushions of the land of Midian were trembling. Therefore, in Old Testament concepts, you could use the term cushion and Midian to mean exactly the same thing. So, what do we have back in Exodus 2 and verse 16? When the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, you could say the Cushite priest had 7 daughters without violating the concepts that existed in Old Testament times. So the answer is the Midian woman, Zipporah, was an Ethiopian. That's the biblical record. No contradiction to be found here. We thank you for your interest in What Do the Scriptures Say. We hope that you will come back to scripturesay.com often for answers to your Bible questions. See you then.